after deceiving my parents by telling them I was going to the movies, I decided it was time to tell them that I wanted to skate again. And they gave me permission. And the only thing I wanted for Christmas that year was a pair of my own skates, which they did provide for me. So I took off like a big bird. I went to a different skating club. And the lady, Mrs. Malcolm, that owned the club, took a liking to me and entered me in a beauty contest. There were 200 contestants, and I placed 10th. So I thought, hey, that's pretty good. So I guess I'm fairly good looking. And I continued skating, and then I found out that they were auditioning for a skating show called the Skating Vanities that had performed in the movie Pinup Girl with Betty Grable, Joey Brown, Martha Raye, Charlie Spivak. So I took a train to New York and went to the big city and auditioned at, I think it was Gay Blades, or Gay Blades, Gay Blades. And by this time, I am out of school and I am working. So quite a bit of time has lapsed since I started skating in a little skating club. And I went over every single day, Monday, every single day, and I worked out with the skaters. And when Friday came around, I said to the choreographer, her name was Marie Carr, and she was from the Roxy Theater on Broadway. She was the choreographer. I said, excuse me, Marie, but I really need to know whether I've been accepted in the show because I do have a job and I have to tell my employer. Oh, she said yes. She said, you need to bring in your birth certificate on Monday and there will be a contract for you to sign. So I went home and I told my auntie and dad that I had been accepted, but I didn't tell them that it was a touring show. They just thought it was New York. So then I had to get up the courage to tell them that I would be going on tour. So they agreed, and by this time, I guess I'm out of school, so what am I, 18 and a half, 19 in there somewhere, very young in their eyes. So I did. Went to New York, got fitted for costumes, and the first show was in Montreal, Canada. And it was quite an experience. I mean, the first night that I skated with an audience and the applause was just overwhelming. It was, I thought I was in heaven. But anyhow, to make a long story short, it might have been maybe the second year that I was with the show. And of course, World War II happened back in 1941, as everybody knows. And I was still in high school at that time. So the war was on. My brother had joined the Air Force. And we were asked if we would like to entertain the boys, to go to camp shows, to do shows. So, of course, everybody wanted to do camp shows. When we were playing at the Boston Gardens, no, wait, it wasn't the Boston Gardens. I'm sorry. It was Providence. When we were playing in Providence, Rhode Island at a big arena, we were asked if we would like to go to Davisville, Rhode Island, which was a Navy base. And we said yes. So we went, and we had Bobby May, the juggler, with us. We had the Mills Brothers with us, and we went to Davisville, Rhode Island. And that was the first time that I saw Donald Watson. And I found out later that he had already served in Italy, Sicily, and French North Africa. And he had come home. He was still in the Navy, but he went to Davisville, and he was with what they called welfare and recreation. So he staged the show for us. And we were very well received. And after we finished, no, I'm sorry, that's another episode. That was, I'll go into that a little later on.
You can skip that.
Okay.
Where
The show was well received. The show
You're going to go somewhere after that?
the show was well received. Yeah, the show was well received, and we got ready to go back. We had gone. We had come rather in a Navy bus. They picked us up at the hotel in the Navy bus, and on the way back, Donald Watson drove along with us, and he stood at the front of the bus and he taught us the CB song on the way back to the hotel. So we all knew the CB song, and I know it to this day. So that was that, and he would visit.
You going to sing it for us?
No, every time I sing, my children laugh at me, so I know better than.
Sing it.
We're the Seabees of the Navy. We can build and we can fight. We'll pave the way to victory. Oh, that's the wrong key. Wait a minute. We're the Seabees of the Navy. We can build and we can fight. We'll pave the way to victory and guard it day and night. And we promise that we'll remember the 7th of December. We're the Seabees of the Navy, bees of the 7 seas. And I'll never forget it. Everybody is laughing. But anyhow, we'll never forget that. Donald started going with a girl by the name of Sis Muller, another redhead. He loved redheads. And Sis would have a picture of Donald in her room, in his sailor suit. And every time we would go into her room, they called him Donnie. They didn't call him Donald or Don. Every time we went into Sis's room, I would look and I'd say, "Oh, how's Donnie?" Because everybody loved Donald. He would come to see the show, and he'd bring coffee and donuts and go around to the rooms, and it was great. Well, I don't know how long, it might have been a year and a half after she started going with Donald, a young man by the name of Bob Ritz joined the show. And he was what they call a flyer, but it was a pair kind of skating thing without going into details. And he asked Sis to join his act. So she started skating with Bob. And of course they fell in love. And now all this time, she's supposed to be going with Donald. So we're working our way across the country, and we finally end up at the arena in South Philadelphia with the show. And I thought, this is going to be interesting. She's going with Bob, and you know full well that Donald's going to come to see the show. Sure enough, he did. So he came, and he told me later that Sis had told him that she was going with Bob. And she said, "I'm really in love with both of you." So Donald said, "Well, when you make up your mind, let me know." And that was it. So I thought, how about that? Because I always thought he was, a nice guy. So mind you, we live in hotel rooms. We gather in one another's room frequently after the show. And that was the case. There were a lot of kids in the show sitting around having coffee and donuts and what have you. And the phone rang. And I answered the phone, and it was Donald. And he said, "Do you mind if I come up?" I said, "No, come right ahead." And he came up, and there we were, all these people. So we sat around for a while, and then he said, "Would you like to go out for coffee?" I said, "Yeah, fine." So we went out for coffee, and then he walked me back, and then it developed into a very nice relationship. And then we started going together.